The Tolkien Road, Episode 61, The Lord of the Rings, The Council of Elrond.
Alright, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 the Tolkien Road of Tolkien, the 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 Tolkien Road.
The Tolkien Road.
The Tolkien Road.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through the works and philosophy of J.R.R. Tolkien. On this episode, we continue through The Lord of the Rings with Book 2, Chapter 2, The Council of Elrond. Before we get started, why not hop on over to iTunes and leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback? It's a great way to show your support for the show and takes less than a minute. Thanks for listening and enjoy. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Tolkien Road. It's John, Greta. What's new?
Sup?
Stop
Not
looking
much?
at your phone. Put your phone down.
Okay.
It's podcast time, not look at your phone time.
All right.
Yeah.
It's down.
Episode 61, Council of Elrond. Yes.
Yawn.
Whatever. This is my this may be my favorite chapter in all of Tolkiendom.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Oh my golly. I must have missed something.
Yeah.
Or some things.
Well, I know you were complaining earlier that you found it boring or too long or something like that.
Both.
Well, yeah. Why? Why did you feel that way?
Well, there was not any action.
Yeah.
It was just people sitting around talking. And I can see why you would like it because there's a lot of history, a lot of backstory, a lot of maybe puzzle pieces being put together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of like, all right, let's just move on with it. Right? It's like how meetings typically go. Like you all get together to just make one decision, and then everybody feels like they have to tell their life story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then the meeting ends up going way too long.
Yeah.
That's just how I felt about this chapter.
Well, I like it because I feel like it makes the I feel like this is one of the chapters that makes the story that makes Tolkien's world feel real, you know? Because there's so much backstory.
There's so much backstory.
You know?
Yeah.
For example, recently I had the pleasure of rereading The Silver Chair, which is one of the Chronicles of Narnia. And admittedly, it is more of a children's book. Mm-hmm. You know, young adult kind of thing. Probably not even young adult, more like middle school is probably the target audience, really. But and as much as I like that, I like the Narnia stuff, it just doesn't have the same depth. It doesn't have that same sense of like this is a real, it's that sense of secondary reality that Tolkien talks about in On Fairy Stories that draws me to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's this sense of enchantment. Like you just get so deep into things. You're like, he starts listing off all of these. They start talking about all these things that you're like, I wonder what that place is like. I wonder what that place is like.
Mm-hmm.
And each of them seem to have their own history and all that sort of thing.
Right.
So
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get that.
So what I'm saying is you're wrong. I respect your opinion, but you're wrong.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes.
Major loser.
Yeah, that's the best you can do?
It's the best I can do.
Good. All right, well, at least you're admitting it. All right. Okay, let's see here. It's haiku time, and I need to get the haiku theme song ready to go because I was too busy defending Tolkien's honor against you, of all people.
I wasn't saying anything against Tolkien. I was just saying I thought the chapter was boring and too long. Too long. But it's not too long. Haikus.
Obviously.
Haikus are not too long. And that's why I love them.
Yes, it is haiku time once again.
Woot woot.
Alrighty.
You know what that means? It's time for
Really quiet paper, rock,
really
scissors.
quiet rock, paper, scissors. You
right.
ready?
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Yes!
You won.
I won!
I let you win.
I won. Alright, I'm gonna go first.
We're waiting.
I'm gonna read it now. Are you ready? Here we go. Many gather at Elrond's place, one great hobbit to name a hero.
What was that blow? Was that was that part of it?
No, I had something on my hand.
Oh, okay. You speak a little louder. I'm not sure.
Speak louder?
Yeah, I want to make sure people can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't yell or anything.
I won't yell. Just project.
Project, yeah.
I get it. Okay. Many gather at Elrond's place, one great hobbit to name a hero.
Nice.
Yep. I thought that one was pretty good. It's better than the other one I told you at dinner, wasn't it?
Yes, although I thought that was funny. Did you write that one down?
I didn't, but I
Oh.
have it memorized.
Okay, go ahead.
This chapter is long. Very, very, very long. But alas, it's done.
Yes. You heard it here first. The haiku to end all haikus.
The haiku to end all haikus. That's right. That one's going to be epic.
Very,
It's going to go viral,
very,
yo.
very long. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It is. I think it's the longest chapter in the whole book.
Not surprised.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to hear mine, or
I
are you
would
gonna
love-
keep blabbing all night? You gonna blah
Well, I had
blah
another
blah,
one.
blah blah. Oh, you did.
But I really don't want to ruin how awesome that last one was, so I'm not going to read it.
Okay. Well, I can email it to me, so I can put it.
I
on the
erased
website.
it actually from my phone because I didn't like it that much.
Okay.
It was about Gandalf, and that just wasn't good enough for Gandalf.
Okay.
So now it's your turn.
Alrighty.
Unless you want me to keep blabbing.
No.
I can do that.
No one wants you to keep blabbing.
I think there's some people out there that might want me to.
Well, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We can have a poll.
Unintellectuals out there.
The unintellectuals.
Yes.
All the morons who are listening really want to. That is unintellectual. The nice way of saying that.
Yes, one of them. Yes.
All right.
But
We don't have any people like that that listen to us. We
You're
have
right.
just
We
smart
probably
people.
don't. Just smart people.
Like really super smart, intelligent,
Yeah.
thoughtful people who are also like really good looking and really, really good looking and
Right.
really strong
Yep.
and morally upstanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
All those things.
And they have good taste and everything.
And everything.
Yeah.
They're like super fashionable foodies
Yeah.
who love good wine.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. All right, now it's your turn.
My turn.
Mm-hmm.
Heroic tales and ages of legend meet here. Frodo learns his doom.
Ooh. I really like that. Heroic legends.
No.
Oh.
Heroic tales
Oh, heroic tales.
and ages of legend.
Ages
meet
of
here.
legends. That's really good job.
Thank you.
That's really, really good.
Thank you. Are you being serious?
No, I'm being very serious. I
Good.
really like that.
Because
I
you
do.
kind of got this half like smirk thing going on in your face that I'm kind of like, is she making fun of me or is she being serious?
No, I like it. I'm
Okay.
being serious. I am.
Okay.
I like the heroic tales.
Yeah.
Or was it heroic?
It's heroic tales.
Heroic tales.
Yeah.
And ages of legend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I like. 'Cause that's kind of what I wanted to do with mine, but I couldn't figure out a good way to say it in the required amount of syllables. But you did it.
I did it.
So good job. Well done, you.
Yay.
Yay, Johnny.
Hooray for me. Let's talk about the real all-stars here, and that's Josh, Mary Grace, and Lars.
Lars is back.
Lars is, and he actually sent in
Yay.
a belated haiku for chapter 1.
Oh, nice.
That's in Sindarin, I think, so I have no idea what it means.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I'm going to try and read it, and...
Maybe that's not a good idea.
Well, I'm going to try.
Did he provide a translation?
No.
Wait, don't we know somebody that knows Sindarin?
Well, we'll figure it out. But I'm just saying I want to read it, and we can figure out what it means. Hopefully it doesn't mean anything. Hopefully it didn't, like, send some, like, you know,
Cursing everybody.
obscene, you know, Sindarin thing that we don't know what it means. And here we're, like, you know, saying something really
Well,
horrible.
we can
Lars
plead
doesn't strike
ignorance.
me as that kind of guy.
No, I don't think he would be. And besides, we could plead ignorance, so it's
That's
okay.
right. I'm going to go with it. All right, here we go.
Wait, you're going to do it now?
Yes.
Okay, do it.
Ahe vanima, Elbereth Gilthoniel, Mailaman. That last word's hard. Amalaman. Amalaman.
Can I see it? Did he
Yeah.
actually put like...
Amalamin. I think that's what it is.
Did
Hold on,
he-
let me try it one more time. Hold on.
Oh, Kitty.
Ahe vanima, Elbereth Gilthoniel, Amalamin. Amalamin. I have a hard time with that last word.
I just want to see it. I want to see
It's
what
on
the
the
words look like.
Right side. For chapter 1.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Here, why don't you read the rest of
Cool.
the haikus there? Josh sent 2,
Okay.
Lars sent 1, and Mary Grace sent 1, and a long form poem. So why don't you read them? Because I always read them, and
You do always
my
read
voice
them.
is boring.
Yeah, I agree. My turn. Let's spruce
Plus, I'm going
this
to
one
sit here
up.
and drink my Big K orange cream soda.
Mm-hmm. Which is delicious.
It is really
Big K.
delicious.
All right. So, Josh sent 2.
Yes.
Should I read both of them?
Yes.
Okay. I hope he doesn't use any big words that I can't pronounce.
Make sure you speak loudly.
Okay. All right. Here's Josh's first haiku for chapter 2. All races converge, for each has their own sworn task. Fellowship is made. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
He did it too. All races converge. That's awesome. I like it. All right, his second one. Boromir arrives, having heard a prophecy, the sword broken found. Ooh.
Nice.
Well done, Josh, as always.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Lars, this one is for chapter 2, right? The one that's in English
Mm-hmm.
is for chapter 2. Okay, this
Yes,
one's
indeed.
from Lars. A counsel taken, for the heavy burden brought, the halfling shall stand. That's good.
Nice.
I like that word, halfling.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's a good word. All right. And
Read
last
that one again.
Okay. A counsel taken, for the heavy burden brought, the halfling shall stand.
Nice.
Yeah, really good. All right, and then last but certainly not least, Mary Grace.
Mary Grace. Yep.
Here is her haiku. I've seen 3 ages. I was herald of Gilgalad. I battled Mordor. Name that person. I know.
Who?
Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay. It's Elrond.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. That's good. I like that. Did she take that right from the text?
Did she take it from the text?
I mean, like, is it word for word from the text? 'Cause I've done that before.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if she did that, like piece different things together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe.
That's good. I like it. All right. And then here is the long form poem from Mary Grace.
Mm-hmm.
So this we could probably end the podcast after I read this.
No.
Oh. Okay.
If you read it really slowly, then maybe I'll fall asleep.
And I can just bring it home.
But then you don't know how to stop any of this stuff, so you would just be like, you'd like run away, and I'd just be snoring. People would just be listening to 2 hours and be snoring until the computer dies.
Surely I could find a stop button on there somewhere.
Maybe.
Oh, I think I can see it. Well, I don't want to deprive our listeners. So, here we go. Frodo was a hobbit. From the Shire he came. He bore the greatest ring of all, becoming Sauron's bane. In Elrond's house by him was cured of a wound so deep and dark. A hobbit he is once again, but the ring has left its mark. A council did Elrond hold at once, much history of Middle-earth was told, of the ages past and ancient tales, and the elder days of old. Boromir told them of his dream. that doom is near at hand. For Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand. A fellowship was gathered there to journey forth to the Black Land, to follow, protect, and even die, to keep the halfling out of Sauron's hand.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good
Super
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah.
Really good stuff, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
All right.
Y'all rock stars.
Rocking and rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's talk about the Council of Elrond.
Yep, let's do it.
31 pages of excitement and glory and action. That's what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I do really love this chapter. I can understand why you don't and why others don't, but for me, like, this is one of those chapters that makes this a truly unique work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Tolkien spends all of his time just telling backstory. And,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like in kind of the modern style, you know, way of telling stories that's like frowned upon. Like, you shouldn't spend all the time on backstory, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of like it actually.
Yeah.
I kind of like all that because it gives this sense of depth, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
I like about a good story is it helps me escape in a way. Not anyway, I'm just completely on board with how Tolkien rolls, as you know,
I know.
which is why I started this podcast.
I understand all that.
So anyway, okay. So we start off, and let's just talk about who's there. Okay.
That's a good idea.
So we've got some dwarves. We've got Gloin, who we already saw in the last chapter, who was with Bilbo in The Hobbit. He was one of the
right. He sat
the
next
dwarves
to him
with
at
Bilbo
the
in The
feast,
Hobbit,
right? Yeah.
And then Gimli is his son. We all know Gimli from if you've seen the movies, you know Gimli.
Mm-hmm.
And Gimli is Gloin's son and is there as well.
Right.
Then we have several members of Elrond's household, among whom Eristor was chief.
Right.
Then we have Galdor, an elf from the Grey Havens, who had come on an errand from Círdan the shipwright. Círdan, of course, is also from the First Age. So Elrond and Círdan
right, and
are
he was
both.
in the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Galdor is his representative there. And then we have Legolas, who is the son of Thranduil, the king of the elves of northern Mirkwood, who are all... Thranduil is actually in The Hobbit, although he's not named in The Hobbit. He's not actually named. He's just called the Elf King, the king of the Green Elves, right?
Okay.
Or the king of the the king of the forest or something like that.
Right.
So Legolas is his son,
Mm-hmm.
and they are not. So they are not. They're like the green. They're the green elves. So these are elves that kind of hung out in the eastern part of Middle Earth, way over. You know, these elves are descendant from the elves who never even made it as far as Beleriand in the First Age, right? Or in the in the times before the First Age, right? When they were all called to go over to Valinor.
Yes.
You know, these elves are descendant from. So these elves are not. They're Morroquindi. They never saw the light, right? They never saw the light of the two trees.
Okay.
And then we also have Boromir, who is a man from the south, from Gondor, and as we'll learn, of course, he is the son of the Steward of Gondor, one of the sons of the Steward of Gondor.
Right.
And then we of course have Bilbo and Frodo and Gandalf, and anybody else I'm forgetting?
Well, Sam sneaks in.
Sam
But
sneaks
he's not
in. He's
officially
kind
there, I
of
guess.
he's not officially there.
But no, I think that covers it. Otherwise.
All right. Okay, so Gloin really starts off the conversation. He's like, all right, let's get down to business. So we're here to talk about what's going on and, all the things going on in Middle-earth right now. And he speaks some of Moria, where we learn that Balin, who was also one of the elves, one of the elves that went with Bilbo to the Lonely Mountain in The Hobbit, that Balin had taken some of the dwarves and tried to reclaim this underground kingdom, under the mountain kingdom of Moria,
Right.
which we'll learn more about later. And then
So this is what happened between the end of The Hobbit and now.
right,
Okay.
from the dwarves' perspective.
The dwarf
right.
perspective, yeah.
Dain, who was the king of who became the new king under the mountain, with the Lonely Mountain. They received a messenger from Sauron, we learn, right? So they received this messenger from Sauron who's basically like trying to kind of butter him up and be like, if you come over to Sauron's side now, things will go well for you, right? If you don't, then things are going to go poorly for you, right? So it's kind of like this veiled threat of like, you better come over to our side, or you're going to pay the ultimate price, right? For Sauron knows that one of these was known to you on a time, right? And he's trying to figure out more information about the hobbits. So they're trying to get more and more of their help. And so Dain has sent Gloin and Gimli here to the council in order to get help, because the dwarves don't really want to help him, but the shadow, they sense this shadow growing, and so and King Brand, who is who's the leader of Dale, the man leader of Dale, is afraid as well.
Yeah.
He's afraid as well.
So they've come to ask for help.
Right. They've come to ask for help and to find out what's going on. What is going on?
Yeah.
What is going on?
What
right?
the what?
What? And so, at that, we go into this long story of the ring. All right, and they go back to the Second Age when Sauron convinced, basically had the rings of power forged. Sauron had learned for a time, and we'll learn more about this when we read Akalabaith, but for a time, Sauron was actually kind of friendly with the elves in the Second Age. Okay, and he learned a lot of things from them, and shared a lot of his own knowledge with them. And there's this kingdom called Eregion, which you can see if you go to one of the maps here in the back. Go to the map in the back.
Do I have a map in this one?
Yeah, don't you? Is it not back there?
No.
Well,
I couldn't find the other version.
Anyway, Eregion was this elvish kingdom that's no longer really in existence. That was, a little ways south of Rivendell.
Okay.
And Sauron had the elves make for themselves rings of power. Okay, right. And the other people made rings of power as well, right? So 7 for the dwarf lords, 9 for the men, and then Sauron secretly forged this one ring to rule them all. Okay,
right.
And Elrond tells some of the story of Numenor as well. That's really the story of Akalabaith. And Numenor was this island kind of halfway between Middle Earth and the Blessed Realm, which was given to the elf friends in the Second Age as kind of his way of saying thank you, because they couldn't come all the way. Since they were mortals, they couldn't step foot on the Undying Lands, but they gave them this island which was close to the Undying Lands, right? Which was closer to the Undying Lands. And that's Numenor. That's when people talk about Numenor. But Numenor, after many years, went through many kings, but eventually Sauron kind of took power there and convinced everybody that kind of did the same thing that Morgoth did in the First Age. Convinced everybody that the Valar were evil and that everybody needed to worship him. Actually, it was more about worshiping Morgoth. Even though Morgoth was no longer really in the picture. So he kind of formed this satanic cult, if you will.
Oh. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, scary stuff, but we'll read all about that when we get to Akalabaith. But we do learn about Elendil the Tall and his mighty sons, Isildur and Anarion, and that's really the important part of this. These guys were the faithful of Numenor, so they led. Elendil was kind of the one of the holdouts. He kind of led this small group of people who were kind of the faithful, right? And they held out against, against Sauron's schemes and against all the people who had gone over to Sauron's side, all the Numenorians who had gone over to Sauron's side. Eventually, Numenor is destroyed, and Elendil flees, and he and his sons establish 2 realms in Middle Earth, Arnor and Gondor. So Arnor is up is like encompasses many different areas, but it's basically the land that through which the hobbits were traveling this whole time. So like the Shire at one point was part of Arnor, right?
Okay. Right.
And then Gondor is in the south. So these are the two great kingdoms of the Dunedain, right, in Middle Earth. Okay, of the elf friends in Middle Earth. Arnor lasts a long time, but eventually by this point it's really there's not much of it left, except for the Rangers, right? The Rangers are kind of trying to keep things some semblance of civilization held together.
Got it.
In Arnor, okay. But it's not. It doesn't have the glory it once had.
And is this during the Second Age?
This is all going back to the Second Age. Okay. And during the Second Age, it was much more powerful. And now in the Third Age, Arnor is pretty like Gondor still has a good bit of power. Arnor no longer does. Okay. But they have this last alliance of men and elves, which goes and defeats Sauron at the just outside of Mordor. And actually, I'm sorry. I think I can't remember exactly whether it's in Mordor or not, but it's close to Mordor. And at that, Elendil is killed by Sauron, but Isildur kills Sauron and cuts off the ring and obtains the ring.
Right. And we see that, right, at the beginning of
the Jackson movies, yeah.
Of the Fellowship
movie. Of the Fellowship movie, yeah. That's the whole battle scene that plays out there.
Got it.
And of course, Isildur, the famous thing is that Isildur fails to destroy the ring. Right. He could have destroyed the ring. He could have just walked right into Mount Doom and destroyed it, but he says, I want to keep it as Weregild. This I will have as Weregild for my father and my brother, he said, and therefore, whether we would or no, he took it to treasure it. But soon he was betrayed by it to his death, and so it is named in the north as Isildur's bane. Yet death maybe was better than what else might have befallen him. Make a long story short, Isildur holds on to the ring for a while, but is eventually the ring betrays him, and he's murdered. He's killed by orcs, kind of out in the wilderness when he tries to hide from him, and the ring escapes from him.
Right.
So we also hear Elrond here talk a little bit about his lineage. Interestingly enough.
Yes. He mentions.
And Frodo says, "You remember all of this, but I thought that the fall of Gil-galad was a long age ago." Elrond says, "So it was indeed. But my memory reaches back even to the elder days. Arundel was my sire, who was born in Gondolin before its fall. And my mother was Elwing, daughter of Dior, son of Luthien of Doriath. I have seen 3 ages in the west of the world, and many defeats and many fruitless victories." So, just a little nifty bit of Elrond.
I was like, hey, I know those people.
Yeah, now you do.
Mm-hmm. Now
you
that
Tolkien expert, you.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel very smart.
Isildur is slain. Gil-galad and Elendil die in the battle. Never again shall there be any such league of elves and men, for men multiply and the firstborn decrease, and the 2 kindreds are estranged. And ever since that day the race of Númenor has decayed, and the span of their years has lessened. And the other thing we learn about is that there's this white tree in Gondor, that if you draw the lineage of this white tree back, you can trace it back to the 2 trees.
I didn't understand how that fit in. What was the significance of that?
They were just saying it's there in the courts of the king grew a white tree in Minas Tirith, right? Mm-hmm. There in the courts of the king grew a white tree from the seed of that tree which Isildur brought over the deep waters, and the seed of that tree before came from Erisea, and before that out of the uttermost west in the day before days when the world was young. So Erisea, right, is Tol Erisea, the lonely island, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was the island that the elves originally had ridden over, right? So it's just basically saying that this is a tree that is descended from the 2 trees. Okay. Isildur had brought it from Númenor. Had brought a seed of the tree from Númenor, right, where there was another tree like it. Okay.
Right.
So I think we'll get into that later with this story. Tolkien liked trees.
He did like trees.
He really liked trees.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like I'm blabbing a lot, so like.
Well, I knew that's how it was
Interject.
going to be with this chapter. 'cause
Well, come on. I mean,
I've
you
inserted
gotta
a
have
few questions.
Yeah, you have. Okay. Okay, fair enough. All right.
I'll see if I can come up with more.
Okay. Then we have Boromir stand up and sort of introduce himself and begin talking more about what led him there. And we learned that he had he's journeyed alone for 110 days, and he doesn't seek allies in war, but he's seeking wisdom. He had a dream in which his brother had a dream, and then he also had a dream. In that dream, I thought the eastern sky grew dark, and there was a growing thunder, but in the west a pale light lingered, and out of it I heard a voice, remote but clear, saying, "Seek for the sword that was broken. In Imladris it dwells. There shall be counsels taken, stronger than Morgul spells. There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand, for Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand." So Boromir is just coming to find out what the heck he needs to find out. He's kind of had this dream that told him to come here.
Mm-hmm. He traveled a long way, too.
Right.
He traveled like 110 days.
Yeah, he did. That's a long way.
Yeah.
Um,
He didn't even know where he was going.
right.
That's crazy.
And so, well, he knows that he needs to go to Imladris, right, which is Rivendell.
Right. But he says that nobody, like, lots of people know of the House of Elrond, but not many people know where it is.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
So I'm just saying, it was obviously very important to him to be, like, this was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he went through a lot of trouble.
Well, and this also gives you that, this is one of those first little details that gives you the sense that that there's other greater forces kind of working behind the scenes, even for the good,
Yep.
You get this sense all later in the chapter, towards the very end of the chapter, you get the sense that Frodo was like picked for this.
Mm-hmm.
But even here, like Boromir was kind of told by who, we don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was told to come in a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. There's other forces at work.
Yeah, there's some kind of dream weaver at work. Weird.
Some like supernatural being.
Yeah.
Working it all out.
Except this dream weaver doesn't seem to want to get him through the night, but to wake him up and get him to go to Imladris.
Right. Sure.
So Elrond, Boromir looks with a lot of skepticism on Aragorn.
Yeah.
And he says, "And who are you, and what have you to do with Minas Tirith?"
Mm-hmm.
And Elrond stands up and says, "He is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and he is descended through many fathers from Isildur, Elendil's son of Minas Ithil. He is the chief of the Dunedain in the north, and few are now left of that folk."
So he's pretty doggone special, so shut up and sit down.
So sit down and shut up.
Yes.
Yeah. But a little later it says, even then, "It was not to beg any boon, but to seek only the meaning of a riddle," answered Boromir proudly. "Yet we are hard-pressed, and the sword of Elendil would be a help beyond our hope, if such a thing could indeed return out of the shadows of the past." He looked again at Aragorn, and doubt was in his eyes. So Boromir doubts, right, that Aragorn can really be of any use to them. Mm-hmm. Boromir is a little bit of a pessimist,
Yeah.
Um,
But this was after Frodo brought out the ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he said that?
mm-hmm.
Right, so, okay. So he already knows the ring is... So he's seen the ring.
Right.
Okay. But he's still being a pessimist.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Okay, so Bilbo gets mad at this, at Boromir's pessimism towards Aragorn, right? And Bilbo stands up and says, and recites this. You want to read this?
Yeah.
Okay.
All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadow shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So Bilbo just kind of has it and says that in retort to Boromir.
And then he brags to Frodo. It's like, I made that up myself.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's probably one of the most famous. Have we seen this before? Not all.
Yeah, it's in the 5th or 6th chapter of book 1 when they're at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is what they use to identify. Like, this is one of the. I think Gandalf tells Butterbur to tell the hobbits this. Like, he says, "I got a message from Gandalf," or no, Gandalf writes it in a note that he hands to them.
Oh, right. That's right. Okay.
And that's to, like, kind of key them in, like, you know, don't be surprised if the guy who's going to help you looks a little shady. You know. Yeah. So, Aragorn kind of gives his own defense, gracious defense, I would say. He says, "For my part, I forgive your doubt. Little do I resemble the figures of Elendil and Isildur as they stand carven in their majesty in the halls of Denethor. I am but the heir of Isildur, not Isildur himself. I have had a hard life and a long, and the leagues that lie between here and Gondor are a small part in the count of my journeys. I have crossed many mountains and many rivers, and trodden many plains, even into the far countries of Rhûn and Harad, where the stars are strange." Like that, where the stars are strange. That's far away. Those two places are really far away. So Aragorn has really been around. So Aragorn gives his own defense of who he is. We get Bilbo goes and gives a little bit of his story briefly. We don't know much of the detail on it, probably because we have already heard it elsewhere.
Right.
Why don't we pause there and we'll take a quick commercial break and we shall return shortly.
That sounds good.
All right. Stay tuned.
Don't go away.
Do you know the tale that Tolkien called the kernel of the Middle-earth mythology? Beren and Luthien is the story of an outlaw mortal and an elvish princess tasked with obtaining a Silmaril, one of the holy jewels of the Blessed Realm, from the Iron Crown of the Dark Lord Morgoth. In my new book, Tolkien's Requiem, I explore the legend of these doomed lovers. In doing so, I aim to provide a backdoor into the world of the Silmarillion for those who have struggled to give it a go. One of Tolkien's greatest achievements, the story of Beren and Luthien, deserves to be as well known as The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Get your copy of Tolkien's Requiem today by visiting truemyths.org/Beren. That's truemyths.org/BEREN. Happy reading! All right. So, we're back. And now we come to a question by Galdor, who again is here from the Grey Havens, from Círdan the Shipwright. Mm-hmm. And Galdor asks a good question. He says, okay, here's all the wise guys gathered together. Mm-hmm. Where in the world is Saruman? Where's Saruman? Why isn't he here helping us understand all this? Because isn't he kind of your boss, Gandalf? Or, isn't he really smart like you?
Dude? Yeah.
And so we start to learn a little bit more about Saruman and about some of the other things that have been going on. Mm-hmm. But we learn a little bit about the rings, all of the rings. Gandalf says, some Galdor would think the tidings of Gloin and the pursuit of Frodo proof enough that the halfling's trove is a thing of great worth to the enemy. Yet it is a ring. What then? The 9 the Nazgul keep. The 7 are taken or destroyed. At this Gloin stirred, but did not speak. The 3 we know of. What then is this one that he desires so much? And Gandalf reveals that one of the reasons, we recall from reading The Hobbit, Gandalf kind of disappears in The Hobbit for a while, right? He goes somewhere we don't really know where he's going.
He's not where Frodo's expecting him to be, right? Like, didn't Frodo expect him to meet up with them sooner than he did? Or didn't he expect him to at least see him before he left Hobbiton? No?
What say again?
I thought that...
We're talking about The Hobbit, not about the first part.
Oh, my bad.
We're talking about Bilbo,
yes,
right?
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Bilbo's story.
I get them confused.
So, Bilbo... at one point in The Hobbit, Gandalf just kind of drops out of the picture for a while. Mm-hmm. And we learn here about what he was doing. He says, "There is indeed a wide waste of time between the river and the mountain, between the lost and the finding. But the gap in the knowledge of the wise has been filled at last. yet too slowly, for the enemy has been close behind, closer even than I feared. And well is it that not until this year, this very summer as it seems, did he learn the full truth. Some here will remember that many years ago I myself dared to pass the doors of the necromancer in Dol Guldur, and secretly explored his ways, and found thus that our fears were true. He was none other than Sauron, our enemy of old, at length taking shape and power again. Some too will remember also that Saruman dissuaded us from open deeds against him, and for long we watched him only. Yet at last, as his shadow grew, Saruman yielded, and the council put forth its strength and drove the evil out of Mirkwood. And that was in the very year of the finding of this ring. A strange chance, if chance it was. But we were too late, as Elrond foresaw. Sauron also had watched us, and had long prepared against our stroke, governing Mordor from afar through Minas Morgul, where his 9 servants dwelt until all was ready. Then he gave way before us, but only feigned to flee, and soon after came to the Dark Tower and openly declared himself. Then for the last time the council met. For now we learned that he was seeking ever more eagerly for the One. We feared then that he had some news of it that we knew nothing of. But Saruman said nay, and repeated what he had said to us before, that the One would never again be found in Middle-earth. At the worst, said he, our enemy knows that we have it not, and that it is still lost. But what was lost may yet be found, he thinks. Fear not, his hope will cheat him. Have I not earnestly studied this matter? Into Anduin the Great it fell, and long ago, while Sauron slept, it was rolled down the river to the sea. There let it lie until the end. So Saruman the whole time is thinking that the ring has gone down to the sea.
Right.
Right. Saruman, you get this sense all along that Saruman is kind of, there's a lot of hubris going on. He just assumes, right? Am I not great? What does he say? He says, have I not earnestly studied this matter? Mm-hmm. Into Anduin the Great it fell. He's just kind of being like, I don't care what anybody says. This is what happens because I say so. Right?
Yeah. Bit prideful.
Yeah. You can hear the twinges of pride in his voice. So, Gandalf continues, telling the story of how he, came to discover the ring. And Aragorn eventually pipes in and talks about finding Gollum over here on page 247. He talks about there's little need to tell of them. If a man must needs walk in sight of the Black Gate or tread the deadly flowers of Morgul Vale, then perils he will have. I too despaired at last, and I began my homeward journey. And then by fortune I came suddenly on what I sought, the marks of soft feet beside a muddy pool. But now the trail was fresh and swift, and it led not to Mordor but away. Along the skirts of the dead marshes I followed it, and then I had him. Lurking by a stagnant mere, peering in the water as the dark eve fell, I caught him, Gollum. He was covered with green slime. He will never love me, I fear, for he bit me, and I was not gentle. Nothing more did I ever get from his mouth than the marks of his teeth. I deemed it the worst part of all my journey, the road back, watching him day and night, making him walk before me with a halter on his neck, gagged, until he was tamed by lack of food and drink, driving him ever toward Mirkwood. I brought him there at last, and gave him to the elves, for we had agreed that this should be done, and I was glad to be rid of his company, for he stank. For my part, I hoped never to look upon him again, but Gandalf came and endured long speech with him. But we eventually learn that he comes. They give him over to the Green Elves, but he eventually escapes the Green Elves.
Right.
So, Gollum is out and about. No one really knows where he is right now, but he's out looking to cause some trouble, looking to find the ring.
Yep.
Any questions? Any things you want to pipe in with?
No.
Okay. Any things you want to pipe in with? Any things I'm skipping over?
No.
Yeah.
You're actually doing it in much more minute detail than I would have.
I'm doing it in much more minute detail than you would. Yeah.
So I don't think you're skipping over anything else.
Okay. So we do learn a little bit more. Eventually we come back to Gandalf talking about Radagast.
Right.
Radagast the Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm really not a fan of how Radagast is done in the Hobbit movies. I'll just say that right now. The actor is fine, but I don't know. I just didn't like
You
how
liked
he
the way
was
he was
portrayed.
portrayed?
No, I thought he was portrayed a little goofy. You know, like kind of like.
Yeah, maybe he's supposed to be like the comic relief or something.
Well, I think that's what they intended, but I thought that I don't know. I just didn't like that.
You didn't like it?
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like he's a wizard. You know, like we've seen two other wizards, Gandalf and like.
Show some respect to the wizards, yo.
Like this is a Meyer we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's right.
It's messed up.
It's disrespectful.
Messed up Peter Jackson.
Totally.
Jeter Paxson.
Oh, that was harsh, John.
Yeah.
Really harsh.
Jeter Paxson. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right.
Radagast, the Brown.
Yeah. So, Radagast and Gandalf meet up, and Gandalf fills Radagast in a little bit on what he knows, but it's a pretty short conversation. Radagast is a little bit interested in what's going on, in Gandalf's fascination with the hobbits. But we don't really learn too much more, except Radagast has a little bit of information about Saruman. Saruman the White told me about the Shire. And he told me to say that if you feel the need, he will help, but you must seek his aid at once or it will be too late. And he says, and that message brought me hope, for Saruman the White is the greatest in my order. Radagast is, of course, a worthy wizard, a master of shapes and changes of hue, and he has much lore of herbs and beasts, and birds are especially his friends. But Saruman has long studied the arts of the enemy himself, and thus we have often been able to forestall him. It was by the devices of Saruman that we drove him from Dol Guldur. It might be that he had found some weapons that would drive back the Nine. And so Gandalf decides to go visit Saruman in hopes that Saruman will have some wise counsel for him. We learned a little bit about where Sauron lives. He lives in Isengard. And the tower he lives in, the big tall building that he lives in, is called Orthanc. Isengard is kind of the realm, the little region, and Orthanc is the Great Tower. I believe elsewhere it's told that these were constructed by... they were constructed by the men of Numenor. It says that right here. So the Numenorians constructed towers like these in order to kind of be lookout points against Saruman and other bad guys.
Right.
Okay. And so Saruman has now taken it over, and it's kind of where he lives and does his thing.
Right.
It's interesting to consider Saruman versus Gandalf and Radagast, right? As we learn more about Saruman, because Gandalf and Radagast are both out and about in Middle Earth, like going out and trying to find things, discover truths. They're kind of always on the move. They're pilgrims, right? Gandalf is the great pilgrim, right? He's always on the move. Saruman, on the other hand, has kind of this little realm he rules, right? So it's almost like being the ruler of this realm has kind of gotten to his head, because he knows he's great, right? He knows he's powerful. It's almost like being the ruler of this little realm has gotten to his head in a way.
So it would have been better for him to remain a pilgrim, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting...
Just a thought.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
Yeah. I don't know if he was intended to or not, but...
Yeah.
But it seems to have... gone to his head.
Right.
But we learned... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, why is... So Radagast comes to Gandalf with this message.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously... Radagast is very much on edge, right? He wants to give the message and get out and just be done. And, I mean, is that just because the message itself was so disturbing to him? Or do you think that... I guess I'm just surprised that Gandalf fell for it. I guess that's really what I'm trying to say. I mean, I know that because he used Saruman used Radagast to lure him to the tower, and I know Radagast didn't know that was the purpose, right? I mean, he thought he didn't realize he was part of a trick, that he was being played. But I mean, Radagast was so uneasy and so on edge throughout the whole thing. Like, he tried to leave before Gandalf was even done talking to him. So I guess I was just wondering, I don't know, I just found it bizarre that a mighty wizard would be so unsettled by this kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That
Radagast was?
Yeah.
Well, Saruman is the boss, right? He is the boss man.
Right, yeah, he is the boss man, but it's not like Radagast is a little minion. I mean, you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah.
he's very powerful in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess I was just taken aback by Radagast, by how kind of on edge Radagast was in this whole exchange,
Mm-hmm.
and that he just really seemed very bothered by it. But
Yeah.
anyway, maybe it was of no consequence. But.
Well, he might also be a bit, frightened by the Nazgul, right? The Nine are abroad again.
Oh,
right.
The Black Riders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of scary.
He might not just want to be waylaid by them, right? And so,
Yeah, that's true.
but I don't know. I mean, we don't know much about Radagast. We don't know much
Yeah.
about his character ultimately. We never find out much.
Yeah, he's kind of mysterious like that.
Yeah. Well, in Unfinished Tales, Tolkien talks about there's 5 wizards that actually come. There's 5 of the Astari who were sent by the Valar. And there's Saruman, Gandalf, Radagast, and then there's 2 blue wizards. We don't know anything about the 2 blue wizards.
Right.
And we know a little bit about Radagast, but that's it, right? So, and I think he wanted to write more about them eventually, but he never got around to it, like many things. So Gandalf goes hoping to get some help from Saruman, but what he finds is Saruman has become treacherous.
Yes.
Right. He has become...
He's a traitor.
It's not Saruman the White, but Saruman of many colors. Yeah. So...
Like Joseph in the Coat of Many Colors.
Yeah, well...
I couldn't pick just one, so I put them all in here.
Yeah. Well...
Yeah, we could call him Saruman the Rainbow.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, you think of white as being like the color of, it's it's simple, but it's
the
also
absence of color. White isn't even a color.
Yeah, but it's simple. In clothing, it is, wouldn't it be?
White?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
I think the proper artistic definition of white is the absence of color.
Well, what about black?
That's all colors mixed together.
Okay. Well, white light, though, is all... No, in terms of light, white is all colors mixed together, right? It's like white light contains all colors. Black contains no colors, right? In terms of light, black is the absence of light.
Okay, were we talking about light or are we talking about clothing?
Well, we're just talking about colors, generally speaking, but... Anyway, I don't think we need to go there, but I guess all I'm trying to say is, like, what does the color of white signify when it comes to Saruman? Well, I think it's intended to signify, like, a certain wisdom and
like a holiness,
purity.
almost?
Yeah, almost like a holiness, and a simplicity too, because it's one color, one
clean, fresh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we find, the many colors thing is interesting because it's kind of like it's this signal of, it's no longer it's no longer about simplicity. It's about all of this,
Yeah.
Look how wonderful look how wonderful and awesome
Flashy.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Saruman of many colors.
Mm-hmm.
White, he sneered, it serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed. The white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken. And Gandalf says, in which case it is no longer white. And he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. So Saruman goes on to basically lay it all out like a good villain, lays it all out for Gandalf just before he's going to imprison him.
Right.
And
basically tries to get him to come over to his side.
Right. And he says, now is our time to rule, friend. We may have come here for one mission, but it's clear that we have to take matters into our own hands. I said we, for we it may be, if you will join me. A new power is rising. Against it, the old allies and policies will not avail us at all. There is no hope left in elves or dying Numenor. This then is one choice before you, before us. We may join with that power. It would be wise, Gandalf. There is hope that way. Its victory is at hand, and there will be rich reward for those that aided it. As the power grows, its proved friends will also grow, and the wise, such as you and I, may with patience come at last to direct its courses, to control it. We can bide our time, we can keep our thoughts in our hearts, deploring maybe evils done by the way, but approving the high and ultimate purpose, knowledge, rule, order, all the things that we have so far striven in vain to accomplish, hindered rather than helped by our weak or idle friends. There would not be any real change in our designs, only in our means. So this is a great little speech of the corrupting influence of power.
Yes.
And it's interesting that Saruman, first is kind of like, we'll go over and we'll be helpful to Sauron, but that's not our end game, right? We're trying to get to a point where we're in charge. You know, we need to be in charge because we're the great and the powerful, right?
Yeah, we're better than he is.
And yes, there may be evil that has to be done along the way, but we can deplore it in our hearts, right? So it's like, the ends justify the means,
right?
Deploring maybe evils done by the way, but approving the high and ultimate purpose, knowledge, rule, order. That these are the most important things. And Gandalf simply says, Saruman, I've heard speeches of this kind before, but only in the mouths of emissaries sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. I cannot think that you brought me so far only to weary my ears. And so Saruman, when he realizes that Gandalf is not going to be of help to him, imprisons Gandalf.
Yep.
Imprisons him on the top of Orthanc.
Go out on a precipice.
Yes.
Sounds miserable.
Yeah, it does. But fortunately, Gandalf is visited by Gwaihir the Windlord, one of the great eagles.
Yes.
And Gwaihir gives him a ride. And eventually Gandalf we learned a little bit about the people of Rohan, the Rohirrim, and being the horse lords. And Gandalf is able to come across Shadowfax, the horse, who gives him a ride.
Right.
The amazingly fast, and apparently very old Shadowfax.
But the people of Rohan were not very welcoming to him, were they? I kind of got that feeling that they were just like, take a horse and go away.
Yeah, and they said, let's see, I will bear you to Edoras, where the Lord of Rohan sits in his halls, for that is not very far off. And I was glad, for in the Rittermark of Rohan, the Rohirrim, the horse lords dwell, and there are no horses like those that are bred in the great vale between the misty mountains and the white. Basically he says, the men of Rohan, I think, are still trustworthy. They pay a tribute of horses and send some to Mordor, but they are not yet under the yoke.
Okay.
So, he said he found evil had already at work. The lies of Saruman and the king of the land would not listen to my warnings.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, he bade me take a horse and be gone, and I chose one much to my liking, but little to his. Okay. I took the best horse in his land, and I have never seen the like of him.
Okay.
And that's yeah. So, Shadowfax. That's where we get Shadowfax from. Okay. We hear a little bit more from Gandalf about his side of the story when it comes to Bree. Mm-hmm. And we finally get to the last part of the chapter, which is the what to do, right? What do we need to do? All right, so now we know, Gandalf, you've been talking forever about what you've been up to. It's good to see you. Thanks for catching us up.
Now, the real reason we're all sitting here...
Yeah.
Because we have a problem we need to solve.
Right. What do we do? What do we do with the ring? And so there are basically 3 strategies that are proposed. The first one is give it to Tom Bombadil.
Yes.
Because they realize, they're like, he didn't seem to be affected by the ring.
Yeah.
Apparently he has power over the ring.
And he's in a safe place, right? Like, he has boundaries set.
Right. And so Erestor says, who is one of Elrond's men, says, it seems that he has power even over the ring. Gandalf says, no, I should not put it so. Say rather that the ring has no power over him. He is his own master, but he cannot alter the ring itself nor break its power over others. And now he is withdrawn into a little land within bounds that he has set, though none can see them, waiting perhaps for a change of days, and he will not step beyond them. And so Tom, even though he has the ability not to be affected by the ring, it's not that he has power over the ring.
Right.
He can't simply destroy it or anything like that. And even still, they keep on discussing him. And Glorfindel says, "To send the ring to him would only postpone the day of evil. He is far away. We could not now take it back to him unguessed, unmarked by any spy. And even if we could, soon or late the Lord of the Rings would learn of its hiding place and would bend all its powers towards it. Could that power be defied by Bombadil alone? I think not. I think that in the end, if all else is conquered, Bombadil will fall, last as he was first, and then night will come." So, that's a troubling thought.
Yeah, that is very troubling. So that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, so Bombadil, we're not giving it to him. Then we have the proposal to throw it into the sea, right? To basically drown it in the sea, way out at sea, so that no one can ever find it. And there's a few different problems with that. Do you remember any of them?
Well, what is that? I remember him saying, like, landscapes change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things in the sea change, and it's just not a guarantee that it will stay gone forever.
Right. Yeah.
I don't remember any of the other ones. So.
Well, that's the basic idea. I mean, even if we succeed in getting it all the way to the sea and way out to sea, it wouldn't be the first time that the shape of the world has been changed. And, are we just leaving it there for later ages to find, much like Gollum stumbled upon it,
right.
A long time ago. And we're not even guaranteed to get it there if we try.
Right.
So that does not seem like a great idea. And so they kind of, after they consider this, they kind of realize, well, that means we have to destroy it. We have to walk it into the fire.
Did we skip over the part where, isn't it Boromir that suggests that they use the ring?
No, we're going to get to that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because none of the other ones suggest that, but it's Boromir who finally says, why don't we just use the dang thing?
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember where that was. Okay.
What do you want to say about that?
Nothing. But I just want to make sure we hadn't skipped over it.
No, we hadn't skipped over.
Okay.
Yeah,
so they have to destroy it.
Right, and Elrond says, we cannot use the ruling ring, that we now know too well. It belongs to Sauron and was made by him alone, and is altogether evil. Its strength, Boromir, is too great for anyone to wield at will, save only those who have already a great power of their own. But for them it holds an even deadlier peril. The very desire of it corrupts the heart. Consider Saruman. If any of the wise should with this ring overthrow the Lord of Mordor, using his own arts, he would then set himself on Sauron's throne, and yet another Dark Lord would appear. And that is another reason why the ring should be destroyed. As long as it is in the world, it will be a danger even to the wise. For nothing is evil in the beginning. Even Sauron was not so. I fear to take the ring to hide it. I will not take the ring to wield it. And Gandalf says, nor I. So the ring is just too powerful. If anyone who tries to use it to their own advantage ends up being used by it. Is basically the response.
Right.
And anyone who does get a hold of it ends up causing far more evil than they anticipated.
It was worth suggesting, though, right?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea for someone who doesn't know much about the ring.
Yeah, someone doesn't know much about the ring.
Yeah.
Right. Even someone who has very limited experience with it. It seems like, hey, let's think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
What? Why are we going to use it, guys? My peeps down in Gondor are kind of getting our butts whooped by Sauron all the time. It'd be nice to have a weapon like this to use against him.
Use some of his own poison against him.
That's right. So you can't really blame Boromir for his offering his perspective there.
No.
They realize finally that someone has to take the ring to Mount Doom. They basically say, well, we can just try and walk it the other way, or we can just walk right into the mouth of the beast.
Right, but they decide not to go the other way because they know that'll be watched, right?
Right, they know that way will be watched because they'd never walk it into the mouth of the beast.
Right. Only crazy people would do that.
Yeah. And Arestor says, thus we return once more to the destroying of the ring, and yet we come no nearer. What strength have we for the finding of the fire in which it was made? That is the path of despair. Of folly, I would say, if the long wisdom of Elrond did not forbid me. And Gandalf has a nice speech here. Despair or folly? It is not despair, for despair is only for those who see the end beyond all doubt. We do not. It is wisdom to recognize necessity when all other courses have been weighed, though as folly it may appear to those who cling to false hope. Well, let folly be our cloak, a veil before the eyes of the enemy. For he is very wise and weighs all things to a nicety in the scales of his malice. But the only measure that he knows is desire for power. And so he judges all hearts. Into his heart the thought will not enter that any will refuse it, that having the ring we may seek to destroy it. If we seek this, we shall put him out of reckoning. At least for a while, said Elrond. The road must be trod, but it will be very hard, and neither strength nor wisdom will carry us far upon it. This quest may be attempted by the weak with as much hope as the strong, yet such is oft the course of deeds that move the wheels of the world. Small hands do them because they must, while the eyes of the great are elsewhere. That reminds me a lot of what Tolkien said about the wheels of the world in the letter that precedes the Silmarillion. You know, where he talks about the wheels of the world are often moved not by the lords and governors, but by by the small and the unknown.
The unknown, the unexpected. I think this is my favorite. I love this part of the chapter.
Yeah.
With Bilbo's response to all this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, fine. You made your point. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I really just wanted to relax and write my book.
Right.
But, fine. If you want me to do this, I started it. I might as well finish it.
Yeah.
I just love that he's
ready to do it.
Dignic, response. I think is like, I really like it. Yeah, he's ready to do it.
But Bilbo, they basically say, Bilbo, this isn't your journey to finish. You don't have the strength left. You cannot take this thing back. It is passed on. If you need my advice any longer, I should say that your part is ended, unless as a recorder.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells him, finish your book and leave the ending unaltered. There is still hope for it, but get ready to write a sequel when they come back. So at that, Frodo looks around, and Bilbo does have a funny line where he says, there seems to me what this council has to decide and all that it has to decide. Elves may thrive on speech alone, and dwarves endure great weariness, but I am only an old hobbit, and I miss my meal at noon. Can't you think of some names now, or put it off till after dinner? And then at that, there's kind of a pause, and it says, no one answered. The noon bell rang, still no one spoke. Frodo glanced at all the faces, but they were not turned to him. All the council sat with downcast eyes, as if in deep thought. A great dread fell on him, as if he was awaiting the pronouncement of some doom that he had long foreseen, and vainly hoped might after all never be spoken. An overwhelming longing to rest and remain at peace by Bilbo's side in Rivendell filled all his heart. At last with an effort he spoke, and wondered to hear his own words, as if some other will was using his small voice. I love this scene because it's almost like you can feel like everybody's eyes like slowly turning to Frodo, and he's like the smallest of everybody there, and all these like big warriors and wise people are turning to him like, well, but they're not really like that because they're like, oh man, I can't believe we're about to send this poor little hobbit into Mordor.
So do you think they had already made up their minds before Frodo volunteered?
I think they all kind of realized that's where it's going. He says, I will take the ring, though I do not know the way.
I love that. I love the humility in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just a very servant attitude, right? I just really like that.
All he knows is that it's not going to be fun, basically.
But he's willing to do it anyway.
Right.
For the good of all mankind.
Yeah. And elf-kind, and hobbit-kind, and
dwarf-kind, and all those people.
And Tom Bombadil-kind.
Yeah. Yep. And wizard-kind.
And so Elrond says, if I understand aright all that I have heard, I think that this task is appointed for you, Frodo, and that if you do not find a way, no one will. This is the hour of the Shire folk, when they arise from their quiet fields to shake the towers and councils of the great. Who of all the wise could have foreseen it? Or if they are wise, why should they expect to know it until the hour has struck? Elrond almost realizes all this and realizes and thinks it's fitting. It's like this is what all this has been leading up to.
Yeah.
And he says, but it is a heavy burden, so heavy that none could lay it on another. I do not lay it on you, but if you take it freely, I will say that your choice is right. And though all the mighty elf friends of old, Hador and Hurin and Turin, and Beren himself were assembled together, your seat should be among them. That's pretty awesome.
I was going to say, that's quite a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, go have a seat at the table with Hurin, Turin, and Beren, you know.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a pretty sweet company right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sam jumps out and says, I'm going with you.
I can't believe they didn't notice him until now. Or do you think they did?
They probably noticed him.
They just didn't pay attention. Yeah.
You know how these things go.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam, you surprised us.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well.
A nice pickle we have landed ourselves in, Mr. Frodo.
Yep.
It's a good ending.
Yeah, it is.
Chapter.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe we did that.
It is a long chapter, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of detail in it. Lots of little sidebars and everything, and
Yes.
And certainly there's not a whole lot of action. It's, but like I said, I feel like just the depth of it adds so much. You know, all of the different things that are told add so much depth to the story.
Oh, I totally agree, and I understand what you're saying. It probably didn't help that I have another book that I'm reading that I was really hoping to get to read today, and I didn't get to read that, so I had to read this. So
yeah, well,
Anyway, not complaining. I left Tolkien with the best of him.
Deal with it.
I was just hoping for a more action-packed, quick-moving chapter. That's all.
I hear you.
Plus, I'm easily distracted, so that didn't help.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. But that was a good discussion. Thanks, Joe.
It were a good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, next time, chapter 3.
Yep.
The ring goes south.
South.
Ring goes south. Yeah. So tune in next time. And anything else? Talk about?
I don't have anything.
No.
I don't know.
Get around to scheduling those interviews here soon.
Yeah.
I
Keep
know.
saying that, Johnny.
Well, yeah, busy time right now.
Say
Busy.
it long
Lots
enough.
going on, but we'll make it happen. I wanted to get a few chapters in. Lord
I
of the
know.
Rings,
I dig it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody,
Yes,
and we'll talk at you next time.